Hey, folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Friday, June 6th. We made it to Friday, and we made it through the end of the Aaron Rodgers saga. That's right, Aaron Rodgers officially now, since late last night, a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, pending a physical, which he is expected to have in town today. We've got Steelers Now photographer Ed Thompson on Rodgers watch over on the south side. Let's get to a couple of things from yesterday's Steelers afternoon drive. Talked to Zachary Smith, and I basically said, I don't understand how people don't like this move, except for personality. Like, you just don't like Aaron Rodgers, right? Outside of just you don't like Aaron Rodgers, I don't understand how, for football reasons, you cannot like this move. And I got a couple of good comments that I want to read here. The first, Randy Tobias, longtime purveyor of ballage in the YouTube comments. Randy says, injury is my main football concern with Rodgers, followed by disrupting the locker room, and finally, if his ayahuasca usage causes any issues. I don't like him as a person, but that doesn't matter in the least. I think he makes the team better, even if he gets injured or simply doesn't play well. The worst case scenario is that we go with what we would have had if we didn't sign him. So there is no real downside to signing him other than the argument that the Steelers sold their soul. I do think the Steelers will fare better than most teams could with Rodgers because there are multiple big personalities in the building. Hayward, TJ, Fitzpatrick, Tomlin, etc. will help keep Rodgers' ego in check. And I didn't think the Steelers are desperate enough to let Rodgers rebuild the team as he sees fit, like he did with the Jets, maybe with the exception of Lazard. Yeah, so I think this is a really level-headed way to look at it, Randy. Like, there are not very many downsides to the idea of adding Aaron Rodgers to the locker room, to this team, right? He is a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph. I think that's fairly unarguable. Even James Chamberlain has given up that ghost, apparently. If he gets injured, then, well, I mean, all the Steelers are out as a little bit of money. Oh, by the way, reported this morning by Ian Rappaport, base salary on $10 million plus incentives, just like Aaron said. Well, maybe not just like Aaron said, but sort of like Aaron said on the Pat McAfee show. But it does not seem like this is going to be a contract that is going to break the bank for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if he gets hurt, if he misses time, and they're playing Rudolph anyway, well, what difference does it make? They were going to play Rudolph. If they didn't sign him, there were no other options. Now, you could be saying, well, maybe they should have gone with Justin Fields from the beginning, a younger player, more likely to be healthy. Sure, but I don't think this is I don't think Rodgers plus Rudolph is likely to be significantly worse than Justin Fields. In fact, I think it's likely to be better over the course of a full season. The part about the locker room is interesting because, like, at the one hand, the Steelers obviously do care about the culture of their locker room. That's why they traded away George Pickens for a third-round pick, a very talented player. And the quarterback has sometimes this outsized influence on the culture of the locker room. But also I look at, like, what Russell Wilson did with the Steelers last year, and, like, look, Russell Wilson came into Pittsburgh, had a reputation from Denver of being a guy who, like, couldn't get along with people, and there was issue after issue in Denver, and Sean Payton hated him, and they couldn't wait to get rid of him. And throughout almost the entirety of the 2024 season, none of those issues caused a single problem for the Pittsburgh Steelers. In fact, I don't think those issues caused a single problem for the Pittsburgh Steelers at all. The Steelers just got to the end of the season, they were like, you know what? Yeah, okay, we see it. We're not signing up for that again. But I don't see what personality stuff Aaron Rodgers is going to bring to the table that is going to be some kind of issue for this team. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know, but, like, he's not this, just like, I mean, it's really hard to be a successful quarterback and be bad in the locker room. It's basically impossible. Like, is he a selfish guy? Maybe. I don't know. Is he me first? It kind of seems like it. Ben Roethlisberger, I think, would fit those descriptions too, and he was the best quarterback in Steelers history. So, I don't really see a lot of validity to concerns about, oh, you can't bring this guy in the locker room. I think the locker room did just fine with Russell Wilson. The locker room did okay on the whole with George Pickens. They just didn't want to deal with him anymore. Will the Steelers have a one-year experiment with Aaron Rodgers and decide, you know what, we don't want to deal with him anymore? Also, maybe, but, like, the idea that is going to play out negatively on the football field, I don't see how that works. And I like this idea that the Steelers are selling their soul. I mean, Smitty and I touched on it. Steelers have had a lot worse people than Aaron Rodgers put on their uniform. Period. And it's not close. So, I mean, I think that's pure hyperbole. Let's go to one more here from Bucko Dan. Another, I think, very good question. Can you tell us your thoughts on tanking in the NFL? It seems a large portion of the fan base is upset with the AR signing because they want the Steelers to tank or to start Rudolph in order to get a better draft pick. I'm of the belief that you cannot tank in the NFL. I can't think of any teams who have intended to tank at the very start of the season that it ended up working out. It's also hard because you have so many guys on the roster whose spots are never secure. It also destroys team culture. I think you owe it to the guys in the locker room to put your best foot forward and start the guy who gives you the best chance to win in 2025. The naysayers will say it's all about 9-8. The naysayers also like to say they can't win a Super Bowl, so what does it matter? That's just a ludicrous take. You can say the same thing about 15 to 20 other teams in the NFL. So do all those teams punt on 2025 too? Trotting out Mason as QB1 in week 1 sends a signal to the rest of the league that you're punting on 2025. I wonder who DK, Metcalf, and the rest of the wide receivers would prefer, Mason or AR. Thanks for your time. I can't speak for DK Metcalf because I've yet to meet the man, but I think in general, the locker room was very much on board with the idea of signing Aaron Rodgers. So to answer that question, yeah, I mean, I don't think you can tank in the NFL outside of. Let me rephrase that a little bit. I think there are circumstances in which you can decide to let a bad situation play out in the NFL. The Steelers could have in 2019 said, "Hey, Ben just blew out his elbow. We're starting freaking Duck Hodges. Let's just pack it in." Like, not tell anybody to lose, not do anything. They didn't need to cut TJ Watt. They didn't need to tell Mike Tomlin to run on 3rd and 10, but they also didn't need to trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, right? They could have just let that season go and then, found a way to turn that high draft pick around the following year. You can get into a situation that you think is going to be good, and then you have injury or bad situation and say, you know what, this didn't go the way we thought. Okay, let's not throw good money after bad. I think that can work. The idea of teams starting the season and saying, I want to be bad, the only teams that ever do that are teams that were already going to be bad anyway, and they just want to make sure they're the worst, right? If you have a team that is already no chance of winning more than 7 games, then there are some teams that will be like, okay, well, if we have no chance of winning more than 7 games, let's try not to win 4 and go get the number 1 pick. I think you can do that. But I think the Steelers' floor is 7 wins. And that was before they signed Aaron Rodgers. So that's not applicable to them. No matter what they did, no matter what buttons Omar Khan pushed, he wasn't going to get this team to a top 10 draft pick, even if he was trying to. They have too many good players to do that. And that goes into the culture thing. What needs to happen to take a good team to make it bad? And can those things be undone in a short time frame? No. For the Steelers to tank, they have to trade TJ Watt. They have to trade Cam Hayward. They have to trade Minkah Fitzpatrick. They have to do a bunch of things that won't be undone for the better part of a decade. If the Steelers go into 2026, draft a quarterback highly, he comes in and they have quarterback proof this roster. They've set him up for success the way the Washington Commanders, did for Jaden Daniels, the way the Houston Texans did for CJ Stroud, and they're able to have a good, solid rookie season with that quarterback. They will be Super Bowl contenders in 2027. If you start throwing away star players from this team, you are talking 2030 at the earliest, my friend. 5 years is like the minimum full teardown rebuild in the NFL. So and I have never seen an NFL team take a playoff squad and decide, you know what, this is a full teardown rebuild. It's too hard to make the playoffs. Teams realize that. I know fans don't. Steelers fans think that making the playoffs and losing the first round is the worst thing that can happen. I hate to break it to you. It's not. It's actually one of the best things that can happen if you're an NFL team in your season. You're just sick and tired of seeing it happen, but it's still a really good outcome. No team would entertain the idea of tearing down a playoff team to lose on purpose. Furthermore, the Rooneys, even if the Steelers' ceiling was 7 wins, would not tolerate not trying to win every single one of them. It is just not in their DNA. And frankly, it's not in the DNA of Pittsburgh. It's not who Pittsburgh football fans are supposed to be about. This is a tough, gritty city that fights for every inch. They're not going to go out there and tank and lose on purpose. The Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, if you want that as a fan, just go root for the Browns. If you want the Steelers to lose games this year, just go root for the Browns. That's where your personality is. You are fine with losing. You don't care. The draft pick is all that matters. And of course, that always works out for the Browns. So it doesn't work. It never works. It's not an option. It's never been an option. And people that bring it up are the worst kind of fans. I don't understand it at all. Sorry for the soapbox. Great question, Dan. Great question, Randy. Back with more Afternoon Drive with Smitty at 6. DB along for the ride, as always, on a Friday. Should be an awesome one. And I don't know, maybe I'll pump out some more OTA video in the meantime, although I get the feeling everyone's already turned the page on that saga. All right, long episode this morning, but had to get to that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.